The unexpected messaged galaxy had been at peace for centuries. The Galactic Council, a group of the most powerful species in the universe, had long ruled with a calm, steady hand. For ages, no one questioned their authority, and the idea that a new force could challenge them seemed almost impossible. After all, the Council had seen it all. They had conquered, negotiated, and maintained control over the galaxy's many worlds with little opposition. But that was about to change. One quiet morning, as the stars shimmered outside, a sudden anomaly appeared in the communications systems. It was a faint signal, one that at first seemed like a mistake or a glitch. It was weak, barely detectable, coming from a distant corner of the galaxy from Earth. The species, once considered primitive, isolated on their small planet, had never been a concern for the Council. Yet now, there was a message, a signal coming straight from the heart of Earth. Lieutenant Arla was the first to notice it. She had been monitoring routine communications, but this one stood out. The signal was unlike anything she had seen before. It didn't match any known communication patterns, not even from the Empire or other galactic entities. It was structured, precise, and seemed deliberate. "General Zoran, you need to see this," Arla said, her voice shaking with confusion. Zoran, standing in the command center of the Exodus, turned to her immediately. He was used to receiving all kinds of transmissions, some from allies, others from enemies, but this was different. "What is it?" Zoran asked, stepping forward. "It's coming from Earth," Arla replied, her fingers moving rapidly across the console as she pulled up the data. "I don't know how it's possible, but the signal is originating from their planet. It's clear and it's deliberate." Zoran's eyebrows furrowed. He had always known that Earth was an anomaly, a backwater world with potential no one had truly recognized. But for it to be sending out a message now, after all these years, was puzzling. He had read the history. Humans had been locked in their primitive ways for centuries, isolated from the galactic community. Yet here they were, sending a signal that had found its way across the stars. "Can you decode it?" Zoran asked. Arla nodded and began working quickly. She adjusted the signal and started parsing the data. Her hands were quick and precise as the words slowly began to form on the screen. "It's not in any language we know," Arla said, squinting at the symbols. "But some parts are starting to make sense." The room fell into silence as the crew waited. The uncertainty of what this message meant hung in the air. They had always assumed that Earth would remain isolated forever, but now that belief was starting to fall apart. Suddenly, the translation was clear enough to read. "We are here. We are not what you think. Earth has awakened. Prepare yourselves." Zoran's heart skipped a beat. The words were simple, but their meaning was profound. What was this message really saying, and why now? He stared at the screen in disbelief. Earth humanity had awakened. They weren't asking for help. They weren't offering peace or extending an olive branch. Instead, they were telling the Galactic Council something was about to change. The Galactic Council had long assumed Earth was a backwater, primitive world. Humanity had never shown any sign of becoming a galactic force, so no one had paid attention to them. But now, this message suggested something was happening. Something big. Zoran's mind raced as he tried to piece together the puzzle. If this was a warning, what was it warning them about, and why was humanity sending a message like this? "Can we respond?" Zoran asked, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of thoughts in his head. Arla nodded, her face tense with worry. "We can try, but we don't know how they've reached us. The technology required to send a signal like this, it's far beyond anything we've seen from Earth. It's like they've suddenly evolved." Zoran took a deep breath and made a decision. "Send them a response, tell them we're listening, and prepare the fleet for any possibility. If humanity has changed, we need to be ready for whatever comes next." As Arla typed up the response, Zoran couldn't shake the feeling that Earth's sudden appearance on the galactic stage wasn't just a fluke. This was something more. The message had been brief, but it carried a weight he could not ignore. Earth was awake, and the galaxy was about to feel the consequences. The response was simple. "We hear you. We are ready to listen. Come forward, humanity, and let us see what you have to offer." Zoran sent the message and watched as it was transmitted across the stars. He couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The Galactic Council had always controlled the galaxy, and now, Earth, a species that had never posed a threat, was making its move. As Zoran gazed out the viewport, staring into the vast emptiness of space, he felt the weight of what this message could mean. The Galactic Council had been complacent, believing they held all the power, but now, it was clear that Earth was no longer a forgotten world. They were rising, and the Council wasn't prepared. The Council's dilemma message had been sent, but the Galactic Council was far from calm. Their peaceful reign was based on their absolute control over the galaxy, and now, out of nowhere, a primitive species from a forgotten planet had declared its presence. The Council's chambers were filled with tension. As representatives from the galaxy's most powerful races gathered, their faces serious, their eyes full of skepticism and fear, the elders, the ruling council members, sat at the head of the room. Each one older than any species in the galaxy, their species had seen empires rise and fall, civilizations collapse, and wars rage across the stars. Yet, nothing had prepared them for humanity. Are we seriously going to entertain the idea that Earth, a planet that has barely been aware of the galaxy's existence, has suddenly become a threat? Elder Velrin, an ancient and powerful being from the Venker Dominion, asked. His voice echoed through the chamber, deep and filled with disdain. They can barely navigate their own solar system. Elder Velrin's comment caused a ripple of agreement among the other members of the council. The United Empire of Ixion, a massive and technologically advanced race, nodded in agreement. The Crimson Reptilians and the Arcturians, two powerful species, leaned forward in curiosity but withheld their judgment. Zoran stood in the center of the room, his hands clasped behind his back. He had been summoned by the council. But this wasn't just a simple matter of diplomacy. The council had always treated humanity as an insignificant, isolated world, their military capabilities laughable compared to the grand galactic empires. But now that Earth had sent a message not of fear or submission, but of confidence and unknown powers, Zoran felt a weight in his chest. He spoke, his voice cutting through the room's growing unease. It's not just about a message, Velrin, it's about what we don't know. Something has changed on Earth, something ancient. And the Galactic Council needs to consider the implications before dismissing this. The room fell silent. The elders exchanged glances, uncertain of how to approach this sudden shift in the galaxy's power dynamics. Zoran was right. They didn't understand what had happened to Earth, what had awakened there. And that made them unpredictable. It's clear they've awakened something, but what exactly is it? Elder Cora from the Technosymbionts questioned, her eyes narrowed as she analyzed Zoran's face. You're suggesting that humanity has something to offer that we don't understand? Zoran didn't answer immediately. His thoughts were focused on the message, the sheer confidence behind it. It wasn't a plea for help. It wasn't desperate. It was as if Earth had finally discovered its place in the galaxy and it was declaring its intentions. Yes, Zoran said, turning to face Cora, humanity is no longer just a bystander. They have found something, and if we're not careful, it could be something that challenges everything the council stands for. The room erupted in murmurs. There were some who wanted to immediately dismiss humanity as a fluke, a lucky accident, but the elders knew better. They had all seen strange, unpredictable events happen throughout the galaxy. The emergence of humanity, however, felt different. What could they possibly have that we don't already control? Velrin asked, his voice tinged with arrogance. Zoran exhaled deeply, his mind racing. We've underestimated Earth for too long. The galactic map has always been the same. We've controlled the trade routes, we've controlled the resources, we've controlled the technology. But now, there's a new player on the field, and we don't know what they're capable of. Suddenly, the communications system pinged. With an incoming transmission, the holographic screen flickered to life, revealing the face of humanity's emissary, Ambassador Elena Santiago. She stood tall, her uniform immaculate, her eyes filled with quiet confidence. The council fell silent. Santiago was the first direct representative humanity had sent to the council, and her presence was a clear sign that they weren't just a backwater species anymore. She looked every bit the part of an intergalactic diplomat, poised and calm under the weight of the galaxy's collective gaze. Council members, she began, her voice calm yet unmistakably firm. I understand the fear, the skepticism, the uncertainty you all feel. We do not come to you as beggars, we come as equals. Humanity's time has come. We've learned, adapted, and we've found a power that can reshape the galaxy. Santiago's words hung in the air, and the room seemed to shrink. Every elder, every representative of the galaxy's powers was now fully focused on her. We are ready, she continued. We ask for peaceful cooperation, but if you refuse to work with us, we will not hesitate to defend what is ours. We will not allow any force to deny us our place in the stars. Her eyes met Zoran's, and for a moment, their shared history felt like it came to the forefront. Zoran had always known that Earth had potential. But now, with the Galactic Council watching, he saw the full picture unfolding. Humanity was not only ready for the galaxy, they were now prepared to claim their place among the stars. And the Council had no choice but to decide, accept this new reality or face the consequences of underestimating Earth. The tension of trust room fell into a heavy silence after Ambassador Santiago's bold declaration. For a long moment, the Galactic Council members exchanged glances, the weight of the situation pressing down on them. Zoran could feel the tension ripple through the room. As humanity's emissary stood unwavering, her presence commanding attention, The fate of the galaxy, it seemed, was about to shift and humanity was at the center of it all. General Zoran, standing just behind Ambassador Santiago, felt a growing sense of unease. This wasn't a diplomatic meeting, it was a test. Humanity's very presence had put the Council on edge, forcing them to reconsider everything they knew about the universe. The peaceful galaxy they had ruled with iron control was suddenly in flux, and humanity was the catalyst. How would the Council respond? Would they accept Earth as an equal? Or would they see this as a dangerous challenge to their authority? As the room filled with murmurs, Elder Velryn's voice broke the silence. Sharp and tinged with suspicion, Ambassador Santiago, you ask us to believe that humanity is ready to take its place among the stars. Yet, in the blink of an eye, we find ourselves confronted with an unknown force, wielding power we've never seen before. How did Earth, a once isolated planet, manage to acquire such force? What do you truly seek from us? Santiago met his gaze without hesitation. We seek peaceful cooperation, yes, but more than that, we seek to understand. We understand the power that the Council has amassed over the ages. We respect it. But we've discovered something on Earth, a hidden power, one that could change the very fabric of the galaxy. The Council members leaned forward, their interest piqued. A hidden power. The room suddenly felt smaller, as if the stakes had just been raised. What are you talking about? Elder Cora asked, her voice now laced with curiosity. What is this power? And where has it been all this time? Santiago looked at Zoran before answering. As if seeking permission, Zoran nodded, his jaw tight, knowing that humanity couldn't afford to hold back anymore. The time for secrets was over. We've discovered a force tied to the core of Earth itself, ancient, untapped energy buried deep beneath the planet. We've learned to harness it, but more than that, it connects us to the very lifeblood of the galaxy. It can be a force of creation or destruction, and we control it. The words hung in the air like a silent storm, and for a moment, the Council was stunned into silence. The ancient races, the Venker Dominion, the Technosymbionts, and others had always believed that the most powerful forces in the galaxy had been discovered, mapped, and catalogued, but now, Earth, a species they once overlooked, was claiming to possess something new, something far older. Zoran could see the shock on their faces. The Revenants, humanity's greatest enemies, had been after something similar, something connected to ancient energy, but humanity had found it first, and the Council, for all its power and wisdom, had never seen anything like it. We did not seek this power, Santiago continued, her voice calm but firm. It found us, and now, we have to decide how to use it. We want to use it for the good of the galaxy, but we can't do that alone. We need allies, not enemies. But if the Council rejects us, we will defend ourselves, as we always have. There was a long, tense pause. Zoran could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The Council had always been a colossal power, and their decisions had shaped the galaxy for millennia, but now, humanity was asking to be more than just a passing thought in the galaxy's history. They were asking for a seat at the table, a share of the power that had always been reserved for the few. And some of the Council members weren't sure they could accept it. I don't believe they can control such power, Elder Velryn growled. Standing up, they are too young, too volatile. This power you speak of could turn against us. The Council has maintained balance for eons. How can we trust that humanity will not use this force to overtake the galaxy? But Ambassador Santiago remained calm. We don't seek to overtake anyone. We seek to protect the galaxy from forces that none of us can control, forces that the Revenants are trying to unleash. Her words hit like a thunderclap. The Revenants, the ancient race that had once tried to dominate the galaxy, were once again part of the conversation. Humanity had already faced them and survived. But now, humanity was standing alone, ready to take its place in the fight to protect the galaxy. Zoran stepped forward, his voice steady and commanding. The Council must decide. If you want humanity's help, we'll stand with you, but if you reject us, you'll face the consequences alone. We cannot let the Revenants win. We won't stand by while the galaxy falls. The room fell silent once more. The tension was thick, almost suffocating. Every eye was on the elders, waiting for them to speak. Would they accept humanity, or would they see them as another threat to their rule? Finally, Elder Cora stood. Her expression was unreadable, but there was a glimmer of something in her eyes. Humanity has shown courage, something that we have not seen from a species so new to the galaxy. Perhaps we have underestimated you. Perhaps the time has come for new alliances. But I will say this, if you truly possess this power, you will need to prove to us that you can control it and use it wisely. Santiago nodded, her voice filled with determination. We will prove it to you, but we will not be ignored anymore. The galaxy needs to adapt, and we are its future. The Galactic Council was silent once again, and Zoran knew that this moment would define the future. Humanity was no longer a forgotten species. They had come to claim their place among the stars. The Council's decision. Tension in the room was palpable. The Galactic Council had always been the supreme authority, a force that had maintained peace across the galaxy for eons. They had seen countless species rise and fall. But humanity this unknown species from a forgotten world had suddenly stepped into the galaxy's spotlight, challenging everything the Council had believed. The question remained, could humanity be trusted with the incredible power they claimed to control? Or would they become another dangerous force to be reckoned with? General Zoran stood quietly at the back of the room, watching the Council's members argue among themselves. The debate had turned into a heated exchange between the elders, each one wrestling with the reality that humanity had something they did not understand. The Council's powerful species, from the proud Venker Dominion to the calculating Arcturians, all seemed conflicted. Some viewed humanity as a potential ally and unexpected, powerful ally, while others saw them as a threat to the galaxy's carefully maintained balance. Elder Velrin, the most senior member of the Venker Dominion, slammed his fist on the table, his sharp eyes glaring at Santiago. You think we should trust your species with the ley lines? The ancient power that has eluded us for millennia? Do you think we are blind to your ambitions? Your rise has been far too quick, too uncontrolled. Ambassador Santiago stood firm, her face betraying none of the tension she felt. This power is not for conquest, she replied, her voice unwavering. It is a defense, a means to protect ourselves and the galaxy from the revenants and the forces that seek to destabilize everything. Humanity does not seek dominion, we seek survival, and the survival of all in this galaxy. Zoran felt a surge of pride, but he knew better than to let it show. He had seen the revenants' handiwork firsthand, their destruction, their manipulation. He understood why humanity had risen, why they had sought power in the shadows. But could the Council understand it? Could they accept humanity's place among them? The answer wasn't clear, and the minutes dragged on, each word weighing heavy in the room. Finally, Elder Cora, a technosymbiont who had never shown much interest in the affairs of Earth, spoke. Her voice was measured, cold. Humanity is a wild card. They've risen quickly, but they haven't proven they can control what they've uncovered. The revenants are a shadow in this galaxy, but what if humanity is something worse? If they have found this power, they could turn it against us. They could become the next empire force that rules with unchecked power. Santiago's eyes flashed with determination. We won't become another empire. We will not dominate. We will defend. Our future lies in unity, not conquest. We are ready to prove ourselves. Humanity's goal is to protect Earth. Protect this galaxy from forces that have already caused too much damage. We will stand with the galaxy, not against it. The room fell into silence again. The Council was split. There were those who believed in the power of the ley lines and saw humanity's potential, but trust was not something that could be granted easily, especially in times as uncertain as these. Zoran stepped forward, his voice strong but respectful. General Velrin, Elder Cora, the revenants are already attacking. They've manipulated the galaxy into a war, and they will keep doing so unless we act. We don't have the luxury of waiting. Humanity has found its place among the stars, and if you don't recognize that, you risk all of us. Earth is prepared to help, but only if we stand together. Santiago nodded in agreement. Humanity is ready to fight alongside the Council. But we cannot afford to wait. The revenants grow stronger, and we must move now. We offer an alliance, not dominance. A hushed whisper ran through the room as the Council deliberated. This moment would define the future of the galaxy. Would the Council embrace humanity and forge a new path, or would they push them aside, allowing the revenants to take advantage of their hesitation? Finally, Elder Cora stood. Her eyes, usually cold and calculating, were filled with a rare flicker of something akin to respect. Humanity has a long way to go before they can be trusted with the galaxy's power. But they have proven themselves in this fight. Perhaps we have underestimated them, Cora said, her voice steady but with a note of grudging acknowledgement. We will accept your offer, humanity. But only time will tell if your species is worthy of this power. Elder Velrin, still skeptical, folded his arms but did not protest. So be it. Humanity will have its place for now. But they must prove they can control the forces they've unleashed. Santiago nodded. Thank you. We will prove ourselves. General Zorn felt the weight of the moment. The Council had accepted humanity, but their doubts remained. Trust had been given, but it was fragile. Earth had earned its place among the stars, but the real battle was just beginning. Now, humanity had to show the galaxy that it was ready to stand not just for Earth, but for the future of the entire galaxy. The dawn of Unitith decision was made. The Galactic Council, though divided, had grudgingly accepted humanity's place in the galaxy, but for General Zoran and Ambassador Santiago, the real work was only just beginning. The Revenants were still out there and humanity's rise had not gone unnoticed. The galaxy was watching, and Earth's newfound position had placed them at the center of a dangerous storm. As the Exodus and its fleet made their way back to Earth, Zoran stood on the bridge, watching the vastness of space unfold before him. The mission was far from over. The Council had granted humanity a seat at the table, but now, the true challenge awaited. Unity both within humanity and with the galaxy was essential, but it would not come easily. Behind him, Santiago walked over, her footsteps light but determined. "General," she began, her voice calm, "the Council may have accepted us, but many still don't trust us. We have to prove ourselves worthy of this new role." Zoran nodded, turning to face her. "I know, it's one thing to be accepted, but another to be trusted. Humanity has a lot of work ahead of us. We need to forge true alliances, not just make promises. We need to stand as equals, not just beg for recognition." Santiago glanced out the window at Earth. "And what about the Revenants? They're not going to let us take the stage without a fight. They want to break us before we even get started." Zoran's jaw tightened. The Revenants had always been the galaxy's biggest threat, and now humanity had become a target. They knew that Earth's sudden rise was no accident. Humanity had power now, power the Revenants couldn't afford to ignore. "We need to prepare for war," Zoran said, his voice low but firm. "The Revenants will come for us, and this time we won't be caught off guard." Back on Earth, preparations were already underway. The Exodus had landed, but the fleet had left behind a defensive grid surrounding the planet. Earth was no longer a defenseless world. It had now become a beacon for the galaxy, both a symbol of hope and a target. Dr. Calloway, the lead scientist on the Leyline project, was deep underground where the ancient power sources hummed with new energy. He had spent countless hours studying the effects of the ley lines on Earth's systems. What had once been a mystery was now humanity's greatest asset. But controlling this power was a delicate task. "We need to find balance," Calloway said to his team, his voice grave. "This energy is too volatile. If we push it too hard, we risk destabilizing everything, but if we harness it correctly, we could be the most powerful force in the galaxy." A young technician who had been working alongside Calloway raised her hand. "What about the Revenants? They're going to come for this power, aren't they?" Calloway's face grew dark. "They won't just come for it, they'll try to take it by force. And if they succeed, Earth will become their greatest weapon. We can't let that happen." As the days passed, the Exodus and its crew trained relentlessly, preparing for the inevitable clash with the Revenants. Their fleet was small compared to the galactic giants they now faced, but they had the advantage of human ingenuity and the ley line energy. Zoran walked through the Exodus's command center, observing the team working on the ship's systems. The crew was exhausted, but their resolve had never been stronger. They had crossed a line. They had risen, but the real test was yet to come. "General," Captain Dorsey said, catching his attention, "the Revenants have mobilized. We're tracking several massive ships moving toward Earth's orbit. They know what's at stake. They know we've unlocked something they've been searching for centuries." Zoran nodded. "Prepare the fleet. We don't know what they've brought with them, but we do know they'll stop at nothing to destroy Earth." The Revenants' fleet arrived in orbit just as the first rays of sunlight touched Earth. Their ships were massive, casting long shadows over the planet's surface. The Exodus and its fleet stood ready, surrounded by the energy drawn from the ley lines. Humanity had never been so powerful, but their enemies had a long history of victory. "General," Captain Dorsey said, her voice tight with anticipation, "we have them in range. What are your orders?" Zoran stood tall, his gaze fixed on the approaching ships. "We fight not for survival anymore. We fight for our place in this galaxy. Humanity's time has come." He turned to face the rest of the crew. "Prepare for battle. Let's show the Revenants that Earth is not just a planet to be conquered. We are the galaxy's future, and we will defend it." The Exodus fired its first volley, the ley line enhanced energy tearing through the space between them and the Revenants. The alien ships retaliated, their weapons designed to tear apart anything in their path. But humanity's new energy, the ancient power from the ley lines, was unlike anything the Revenants had ever faced. The human fleet, though small, moved with precision, attacking with strategic focus, using the ley line energy to counter every move the Revenants made. The battle was chaotic, a storm of energy blasts and counterattacks, yet humanity was winning. The power of the ley lines flowed through their ships, amplifying their weapons and shields. The Revenants couldn't keep up. Asterisk the shifting tides. The battle raged on as the Exodus and its fleet faced down the full might of the Revenants. The ley line energy surged through humanity's ships, each blast fired from their weapons like a burst of pure, concentrated power. Yet, as the battle wore on, Zoran knew this fight would not be won by force alone. The Revenants' fleet was Vast, their numbers overwhelming, but there was something else in play, a growing, unseen force that seemed to be shifting the tides of the conflict in ways that no one could have predicted. Zoran watched as the Revenants retaliated with force, their ships scattering their fire across the sky. The Exodus moved nimbly, darting through the chaos, its weapons firing back with unmatched precision, but the alien ships weren't retreating. If anything, they were starting to adapt, counteracting humanity's attacks with unsettling efficiency. It was as if they were learning, evolving in real time. Captain Dorsey, Zoran called, his eyes never leaving the view screen. "What's the status on our shields?" Dorsey's voice was calm, but Zoran could hear the strain in her words. "We're holding steady, General. But we're starting to feel the pressure. The Revenants are recalibrating their weapons. Our shields won't last much longer at this rate." Zoran clenched his fists. Humanity was on the edge of victory, but the Revenants had begun to turn the tide. The Revenants' flagship, their most powerful vessel, was still intact, and it was now directing the full force of the enemy's counteroffensive. With each passing minute, humanity's advantage was shrinking. "We need to hit their flagship," Zoran muttered to himself, his mind racing. The flagship was their main strength, and as long as it remained in play, humanity would always be on the defensive. He turned back to Dorsey. "Set a course for their flagship. We're going to take it down." As the Exodus turned toward the Revenant's flagship, the leyline energy seemed to respond, intensifying as if recognizing humanity's desperate need. The ship's weapons flared to life, each blast more potent than the last. The flagship's defenses were formidable, but the humans were fighting with purpose. The Revenants had underestimated the power of Earth's resilience. General Zoran gripped the armrest of his seat, feeling the hum of energy around him. This was humanity's chance. If they could defeat the flagship, they would cripple the Revenants' ability to command the battle. But as the Exodus closed the distance, a shocking new reality hit. The Revenant's flagship, so large and imposing, wasn't just a ship. It was a weapon, an ancient construct imbued with power far beyond human comprehension. Dr. Calloway's voice crackled through the comms. "General, there's something wrong. The flagship isn't just a vessel, it's drawing power directly from the ley lines from deep within the galactic core. It's connected to something older than we imagined. We're dealing with more than just an enemy fleet here, it's a living entity." Zoran's heart skipped a beat. "You're saying the Revenants are using the ley lines as a source of power? And they've somehow tapped into the galaxy's core?" Calloway's voice grew more urgent. "Yes, General. The flagship is not just a ship, it's a harbinger connected to the core energy of the galaxy. It's using the ley lines to amplify its strength, and it's becoming stronger with each passing moment. If we don't neutralize it quickly, we'll be outmatched." The Exodus pushed forward, every weapon firing at once, but the Revenants' flagship absorbed the blasts, its shields growing stronger with each impact. Zoran realized they weren't just fighting a ship, they were fighting the Revenants' will of force that had been building for centuries. But humanity's new power from the ley lines wasn't finished yet. "Dorsey," Zoran said, his voice filled with determination, "we need to overload the ley line power and send it straight to the flagship's core." "Can you do that?" Dorsey hesitated for a split second. "It's risky, General. But we don't have any other options. If we channel everything through the ley line system on the Exodus, we can overload their shields." "Do it," Zoran said, his voice steady, filled with conviction. "We're not going to lose this fight." Dorsey worked quickly, her fingers flying over the controls as she rerouted all the ley line energy to the Exodus's weapon systems. The ship hummed with power, its weapons glowing brightly as it prepared to fire a final, devastating blast. The crew braced themselves, knowing that this shot could be the difference between life and death. The Exodus locked onto the Revenant's flagship, and for a moment, everything fell silent. The flagship was drawing in the power of the galaxy, but now humanity had the power of the ley lines on their side. The Exodus fired, sending a concentrated beam of energy straight into the flagship's core. The flagship trembled as the energy connected. For a moment, the whole galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a deafening explosion, the Revenant's flagship cracked open, sending debris and fragments scattering across space. Humanity's fleet had struck a devastating blow. The Revenants were stunned. Their most powerful ship, their ultimate weapon, had been destroyed. But as the smoke cleared, Zoran knew this wasn't the end. The Revenants were still out there, and their true leader had not yet revealed itself. Humanity had won a battle, but the war was far from over. The galaxy had just seen the strength of Earth's fleet, but there was much more to be done. Zoran turned to Captain Dorsey, his eyes filled with unwavering resolve. "We've taken down their flagship, but we need to prepare for the next stage. We're not done yet." The hidden thread Revenants had been dealt a severe blow. Their flagship destroyed and their forces scattered across the galaxy. Humanity had won a significant battle, But the war was far from over. General Zoran stood on the Exodus, watching as the remnants of the enemy fleet fled into the void. The atmosphere on the ship was tense, as though everyone knew they had just scratched the surface of a far more dangerous conflict. The ley line energy that had once seemed like humanity's greatest weapon was now a double-edged sword. The power coursing through their ships had given them an advantage, but it had also strained their systems. Every blast from their weapons felt like a ticking clock, reminding them that the energy was volatile and difficult to control. As the fleet moved to regroup and assess the damage, Zoran couldn't shake the feeling that the Revenant's retreat was only the beginning. The flagship had been their pride, their ultimate weapon. But something larger loomed in the distance. Zoran knew that the Revenants had been hiding something far darker than anyone could have anticipated. "Captain Dorsey, what's the status on the fleet?" Zoran asked, his tone firm, but his mind still racing. Captain Dorsey looked up from her console, her face etched with concern. "General, we've taken significant damage. The Exodus is functional, but we're not at full strength. The Revenants may have retreated, but we can't let our guard down. They'll come back stronger." Zoran nodded, turning toward the viewport, his eyes scanning the empty expanse of space. The Revenants weren't the only threat out there. He knew they were not just facing an alien enemy, they were facing ancient powers, forces that had been awakened by the power of the ley lines. The galaxy had no idea what kind of storm humanity was about to face. On the surface of Earth, Dr. Calloway and his team were still deep underground, where the ley lines connected to the planet's core. The nexus, the heart of the energy source, hummed with a quiet, almost foreboding intensity. The power humanity had unlocked was beyond anything they had ever imagined, and yet, there was a sense of disquiet among the researchers. Something wasn't right. Calloway walked slowly across the chamber, his eyes fixed on the glowing symbols etched into the walls. The energy from the ley lines was powerful, but it was also inherently unstable. He could feel it in his bones. The power was growing, but so was the danger. Dr. Calloway, one of the technicians, called out, breaking his concentration. "We've detected something deep within the nexus. It's awakening." Calloway turned sharply, his heart racing. "What do you mean, awakening?" The technician's face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. "The ley lines, they're connecting to something more. It's like an ancient force buried beneath the planet. We don't know what it is, but it's reacting to the power we've released." Dr. Calloway's pulse quickened. An ancient force, the words felt like a dark prophecy. Humanity had uncovered a galactic secret, one that had been hidden for eons, but this power was dangerous, and the more they learned about it, the less they understood. "Shut down the power flow," Calloway commanded, his voice urgent. "We need to contain this before it spirals out of control." Back on the Exodus, the crew prepared for the worst. Zoran stood in the command center, watching the horizon as a faint signal appeared on the radar. It wasn't another Revenant fleet, at least, not immediately, but the signal was unmistakable, a presence, something massive. Something powerful was moving toward them. "And it wasn't from Earth." "General, we've detected an anomaly," Arla reported, her voice filled with unease. "It's a ship, but it's unlike anything we've seen before. It's massive, far larger than the Revenant's flagship, and it's on a direct course for Earth." Zoran's heart raced. Another enemy? Or was this a new force altogether, something neither humanity nor the Revenants had expected? He turned sharply toward Arla. "Can we get an identification?" he asked. Arla shook her head, her eyes wide with concern. "The ship's signature doesn't match anything in our records, and the speed it's traveling at, it's unlike anything we've seen. It's coming too fast." Zoran's mind raced. This was no ordinary enemy. This was something new, a force of unknown origin, and it was heading directly for Earth. "Full alert, Captain Dorsey," Zoran ordered, his voice calm, but filled with urgency. "Prepare the fleet for combat. We don't know what we're facing, but we need to be ready." As the Exodus prepared to face this unknown threat, Zoran couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had just opened a door, one that they might not be able to close again. The Revenants had been the galaxy's oldest and most dangerous foe, but this new force, whatever it was, could be even worse. What had they unleashed when they unlocked the ley lines, and who or what was coming for them now? The ship on the radar was approaching fast, and Zoran knew that the galaxy was about to face something far more powerful than anything they had ever known. Humanity might have defeated the Revenants, but now they were facing a new and unknown threat, a threat that was older, deeper, and possibly more deadly. The Exodus was Earth's last line of defense, but this new enemy was unlike any they had ever encountered. And as Zoran stood on the bridge, staring at the darkened sky outside, he knew one thing for sure: the real war was just beginning.